Hello, everyone. We are group 3, and this is our discussion for the questions related to chapters 9 through 12.
Hi, my name is Leila Hasuna, and I'm the group leader.
Hi, my name is Yuan Dong. I'm the group TED.
My name is Mona Fahuman. I'm a timekeeper.
Hi, I'm Haley Haskell, and I'm the group interviewer. All right, so we are going to begin our discussion with chapter 9, and we will start with Leila. Please briefly discuss the different identity statuses. During an adolescent search for identity, there are certain characteristics that define adolescent thinking. Select 2 of these characteristics and describe examples of how you think, of how your thinking was shaped as a teenager.
Alrighty, so first part, briefly discuss identities. So there are 4 different types of identities. There's diffusion, foreclosure, moratorium, and achievement. So going bit by bit, diffusion is defined as an individual is overwhelmed by the task of achieving an identity, but does little to accomplish it. So I guess it's kind of like the combination of procrastinating, but like determined, like you're determined to get somewhere, but you procrastinate it. So you want to achieve your identity, it's a goal, it's a task, but you don't do much to get there. So it's kind of like, most of us are nursing students. It's kind of like, I want to be a nurse and I need to take the TEAS exam, but I'm too lazy to study for the TEAS exam. So that's just an example of that one. We go on to foreclosure. Foreclosure is the individual has a status determined by the adults around them, rather than their own personal wanting or passion. So for example, if you come from a family of doctors, you're most likely going to be pressured into becoming a doctor yourself, even if your passion might be elsewhere. So that's an example of foreclosure. Moratorium is an individual is examining different alternatives, but has yet to find one that is satisfying to them or appealing to them. So, they look to all their different options, and, they have everything laid out in front of them, but still nothing is just jumping out at them. They don't like anything about it. They're still trying to find the one that helps, the one that's satisfying. Achievement is an individual has explored alternatives, but deliberately has chosen a specific identity, So they know what's on the table, they know what's laid out for them, but, maybe they have a calling to this one, maybe for some reason they really like this one, but that is what calls to them. That's what makes them go for it. All right, and then 2 of the characteristics I most relate to are the adolescent egocentrism. That one's defined as adolescents are overly concerned with their own thoughts and feelings. Personally, I feel like I overthink things a lot. A lot of times I find myself over studying for exams, or I find myself over preparing, or even going up to the grocery store to pay for my groceries. I'll find myself overthinking. So that one, I'm always just in my own thoughts and my own feelings. And the second one is the imaginary audience. So that one's defined as adolescents believe that others are constantly watching. That one kind of has positive and negatives for me, because when I'm in public and we all have our good side, bad side, and for any reason, if I ever think of doing anything, I have that feeling I'm being watched. So it deters me from doing things. It also motivates me to do the right things, and so I feel like that really kind of shaped my identity growing up in that one.
Yeah, I definitely related to what you said about nursing school and how I remember as a teenager, I always have known that I wanted to be a nurse. but getting to this period in my life where like I'm almost ready to apply to nursing school has been such a struggle because in high school, I knew that what I wanted to do was ambitious and it required really good grades, but I wasn't willing to put in the work to get there at all. I did not want, I hated studying, hated doing that. So finally, I feel like I'm in that phase where I've explored all of the options, like in the achievement phase, where I've explored all of the options and like can finally commit to actually making it work.
Right. Yeah. I feel like personally, I'm really, really the type. I've just like you have known I wanted to be a nurse ever since I was like a freshman in high school. I feel like I worked harder when I was like a little younger. Like I'm turning 19 in a couple weeks. So I feel like when I was like 16, I was working way harder to like get to nursing than I am now, which personally, not saying I don't work hard. I feel like I think I'm a little lazier than what I used to be. And like, for example, this class, like sometimes I'll be like, okay, we're recording a video tomorrow. I have to finish my last couple questions. I need to, read the chapters. And I'll just procrastinate. I don't feel like doing that. I don't want to read the chapters. I don't want to. So, sometimes that happens a lot.
Yeah. The other thing I like really relate to in this part is the imaginary audience, especially being in nursing. I feel like I'm always comparing myself to the people around me and like how it's taken me till I'm 22 to finally be ready to apply to nursing school, where there are like sophomores in college getting in right now. And it's really hard for me not to compare myself to like, when I was a 19-year-old, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to study for an exam and like be successful. So it's really, it's hard to overcome that, I feel like.
For sure. I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, if we're ready to move on to the next one, Mona, according to the book, what is
Jalen.
Oh, sorry about that. Duyen, on average, how do romantic relationships develop in adolescence? How do views on sexuality differ for males and females? And what are some of the unintended consequences of sexual relationships?
So, in adolescent, romantic relationships are normally developed to friendship, companionship, as well as an outlet for sexual exploration. And there's a big difference between how females and male view sexuality. For males, sexual behavior is more recreational, as opposed to females, which are more romantic and intimate. And some intended consequences of asexual relationships are they could have sexually transmitted diseases, teen pregnancies, or also dating violence.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, this wasn't really related to sexual activity, my first example, but all of the boys on the high school football team shared water bottles, and one of them got mono through sexual activity, and they spread it to the entire football team through the water bottle sharing. And I thought that was just awful.
That just shows you, a lot of times diseases are not spread, intentionally. Like just doing that is crazy. That's crazy. How do you explain to your parents, like, I have an STD, but it's not from
where it's not from sex.
Activity, how do you explain that? But that's crazy. The whole team got it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had to forfeit one of our football games because everyone was out with mono.
Everyone had mono. That's funny because from a religious standpoint, which like Muna and I are both Muslim, we both follow Islam. So in our religion, we don't date per se, not that we don't court. We just don't have we don't have multiple relationships before marriage. We have a courtship that is chaperoned during the engagement process. There's no sexual activity till after marriage. So we kind of follow the, sexual activity after marriage. And a lot of that comes with the fact that, there's diseases that can be spread, if you have multiple partners, that could come back at you. And if you have one partner, you have less risk of getting those diseases and spreading them. And it also ties with the intimate and emotional, we try to have one partner per life for your life unless a divorce is necessary. So from a religious standpoint, that's kind of like how we view it.
It's completely different cultures.
Completely different culture. Yeah, no dating, no. We don't even physically touch the opposite gender, like handshakes and stuff.
Exactly.
We kind of keep contact to a minimum.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
find that
So no
so-
PDA.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
has. If we had the time, I could explain every reason why. It's a different lifestyle for sure. It's very different than here. It's difficult in America, but it has its purposes in our culture. They're not just like oppressive reasons. It has like specific reasons that we're okay with and we like them. Obviously, we follow them. So, if you wanted, if we sat there and explain, I could tell you exactly why, but it's not for oppressive reasons. It's a really beautiful reason. But it's a whole different culture. It's a whole different lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we are done.
Awesome.
Okay, now we are going to be discussing chapter 10 questions. We will be starting with Mona for this section. Mona, how does nutrition and adulthood affect your mental, emotional, and physical functioning? Explain the difference between LDLs and HDLs. What are the major social influences on health?
Okay, thank you, Haley. The nutrition definitely affect on our health. As the book mentioned that who you are, what you eat, so it's going to affect on physically, mentally, and emotional of our health. Nutrition linked to many severe disease like a cancer, like a cardiovascular disease, diabetes, anemia, it means loss of the blood, and digestive disorder. We have to focus what we eat, and we have to consider about how many energy and how many nutrition our body needs, the calories they need, that we call it metabolism. Sorry about my pronunciation, but I think it's a metabolism. Metabolism, it means the energy you need. And for instance, for the young adult, because they just develop our body, so they need more energy, more nutrition. So, and in a middle age, because the development is going to be stopped, so the metabolism is going to be low. So we don't need more, consume the nutrition. We should consider for that, for the avoid for consuming, for instance, sugar, saturated fat, sodium, like for instance, salt, saturated fat, like a red meat, beef, lamb, pork, lard. And if you want to stay maximum, healthy, you have to avoid for some things is not good for our body, and change your style and habit of your life eating. Two type of the lipoprotein we have. Lipoprotein, it means the fatty chemical that attach with the protein in our blood. Okay, so we have two type of that. One is the low density of the lipoprotein. Sorry, it's the so we call it. I just draw for you. It's called LDL. Okay. So LDK is just the cholesterol. We don't like it. So it's this one is we have to just prevent what we eat, especially for the middle ages. So it must be less than 160. Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but it is, you just remind it that one. It is not happy if you don't like this one.
Love it.
And, yeah. You know that this one is gonna store the fat in our body, okay? And it just block the artery, doesn't let the blood flow in our body, circulating body. So we don't like this one. But another one is this the good cholesterol, is this the HDL, okay? So HDL is this good because his work is just break the LDL in our body, okay? So it lets the blood in, flow and circle in our body. So it must be we call it protective factor. We need that one. So it must be at least 40 milligram for the men and 50 milligram for the ladies. So for those of these, if for some individuals, for LDL is going to be high, is not going to be affected by the exercise and healthy diet. They have to take the pill that we call it Lipitor or Crestor, statins, something, the drugs, they have to use that one. But for the healthy one, if they want to protect themselves from the cholesterol, they have to change their life, the diet, and also the exercise. And some individuals, they carry this one, this the gene, like a hereditary, sometimes for some individuals. For instance, for mine, unfortunately, HDL is low. It must be almost 50, but for me, it is 26, and this is the heritage because my family my father's have a HDL in a low. So and also the social influence in our health, education definitely is on a health, because educated people, they know, they're aware of the system of the body, and higher education is a higher income, so they're gonna go, the lifestyle of the people is going to be changed. And it's like a positive correlation between higher education, for sure is going to be healthier the people. Another things is very important is socio-economic status. It means how much you access to health insurance or good healthcare. And another things is ethnicity. So group of the people, for instance, the Asian people, Vietnamese people, they just eat the more vegetables, fresh food, and fish. They affect under the health. And unfortunately, the African American, because they just more the fries, they have a risk of the heart disease, cardiovascular disease. And also the poverty, because when you are struggling to bring the money, because your income is low, definitely you just pick up the cheap one, and so it's effect on your healthy. And you should know this one is on a test. Be careful, and just if you have any question, have you ever tested blood test? But you're young, you're not doing that, huh?
I've never had a blood test. No.
Oh, really?
Or at least not for my lipoprotein.
My cholesterol was too high because I was eating too much shrimp. Yeah, you get it from eating shrimp.
Actually, my cholesterol, last time I had a blood test, I don't know if it was specific towards that topic, but I had like a general blood test, and I also had high cholesterol, but the clinic who took my blood test has never seen me, so they called me thinking I was morbidly obese. But I'm not. I'm like 4'11" and less than like 150 pounds. Like I'm regular-ish, So, they called me up and they were like, like I weigh like 125, 130. So they called me up and they were like, oh yeah, like you need to lose weight. And I was like, oh, like really? Okay, like how much? And they were like, a lot. And I was like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? And they were like, no, like a lot. And I was like, okay, how much? They were like, at least 20 to 30 pounds. And I was like, so you guys want me to weigh 100 pounds? And they were like, well, how much do you weigh? And I was like, I told them my weight, and they were like, oh, wait, you have high cholesterol for your height and weight. And I was like, yeah, it runs in my family. It's different. But it was just really funny because they totally just assumed because of my age and my height that the reason why it was high had to have been solely based on my weight, because it just didn't make sense to them. It was really funny. It was a really interesting story.
Yeah, this is very important how to eat. For instance, the fiber is going to be help you. Vegetable is very helpful. For instance, my LDL is a bad cholesterol, I can say. Is this the very low because 75% of our portion, me and my husband, is vegetables. My husband just lose 50 pounds 2 years ago because of, and then because of this, we just change our style and then more vegetables. Whole lifestyle. Unfortunately, I have 2 boys, so they are in a teenager. They need more nutrition and then eat a lot of things, a lot of food because their brain they just really develop, their body did. But we are not separate, but just look at them and we want that one, but we just refuse it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mona, if your culture is anything like my culture, Palestinian culture, everything is rice and bread.
Yeah, right, exactly. Carbohydrate actually it's sugar, carbohydrate, and then the fat. Just for 1 year I just didn't eat the meat, but after that because of the doctor said anemia, something like that. I'm sorry about the lose of the blood, anemia. So I started to eat, but just 1 week, one time in a week. This is okay.
Wow. Okay. All right. So this next set of questions is going to be covering chapter 11. We'll start with my question, which is, what are the benefits and drawbacks to introducing children into relationships? How does age and ethnic background make a difference in parenting? Do you have children currently or plan to have children in the future? If so, what about this research on having children resonates with you? So I'm going to start with the benefits of children, and there are both psychological and social benefits to having children. The psychological benefits include feelings of love, companionship, fun, all of the things we're really familiar with kids. They're a great time to have around. The social benefits include increased in community involvement, fulfilling societal norms, and passing a family name down to the next generation. Even though children are great, they can also be very expensive. Early on costs include diapers, daycare, those kind of things, those expenses. And then later in life, you have college and other schooling that you need to consider. Children are also very time consuming. They're a huge responsibility. It's like a dog times 10. And it requires that you make a lot of lifestyle changes. You can't be going to the bars every weekend if you have a baby at home, so that you can properly raise this child and give them the support that they need to get through life. Another thing that a lot of parents struggle with is balancing work and childcare. You have to be able to provide for your child with money, but you also have to be there for your child. And finding this balance can be really difficult, especially in a country that doesn't guarantee paternal and maternal leave. So that can be something that a lot of parents have to take into consideration when they're planning for a family. This time component of having children can be even more elaborate if you have a mentally or physically disabled child. I see kids in my clinic on a weekly to monthly basis, and their parents always just look so tired. And so you have to consider that because you can't control genetics and things can happen. So for age differences with child rearing, it's stated in the text that older parents are overall better parents. They have more life experience, which translates into them being better parents. They have more time to invest and they're more emotionally capable. My mother and father had me at 40, and I loved having old parents. In contrast, they had my sister at the age of 22, and I just remember my sister always telling me, you have it so good. Like, mom and dad would never be able to give me the life that they give you. And so I'm really thankful for those differences, obviously. other than age differences, there's also differences in parents for the different ethnicities. It's stated that African American children are often raised with family values and pride in their ethnicity. Like, that's a very highly stressed concept. African American fathers were also mentioned to be more likely to be more involved in their child's life than the Caucasian counterparts. Another ethnicity that was mentioned was the idea of how Native American families, they used to have this emphasis on the importance of children and how women were supposed to be very highly respected while the fathers did a lot of the childcare aspects. And unfortunately, a lot of these traditions have been lost through the oppression of these groups, but there's still this huge emphasis on like supporting the people in your tribe. So they have like communal support in raising children, which I thought was really cool. I came from a town that had a lot of Caucasian and Latina families. And in this Latino family, there's this idea that the self is less important than the whole family. And I remember experiencing that firsthand with a lot of the girls of my cheer group. They would always have to leave early in order to fulfill family commitments, such as like picking up their little siblings from school and stuff like that. But I never really experienced that firsthand. I have decided that I want kids, and me and my partner have discussed having children. But I feel as though maybe like environmental and political influences might have an impact on my decision if I like decide to go through with it. I do feel like that our world is already so overcrowded with people. We're overpopulated. You know, global warming is just going to keep getting worse. And I don't know if it's like necessarily socially responsible to bring a child into the world. So I've considered aspects of like maybe adoption, because I know there are a ton of kids who really need a family out there. So it's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. You know that recently in my country, the young, they just don't want to have a baby because of the, you know, the expenses. Many, you know, it's very expensive diaper, and also they just more think about themselves, you know, you know, because they have to, you know, just avoid and to do many things. So, but you know, for me, honestly, you know, although have many disadvantage, is the hard. Actually, if my first son has a, you know, I can't say disability, but he's you know, disorder. He has autism. Not severe, but you know, he has a problem. But I really like when he comes to me and then call me, especially when, you know, just talk to each other. You know, we can see it's you know, just this is the future. You know, we think, yeah, you know, our life is just productive. You know, it's just something like that. And then I love them, and then just take care of them with my heart. But yeah, have a disadvantage too.
Yeah.
Expends a lot of money.
Yeah. I really resonated when you said that you were born to 40-year-old parents, because my mom had me when she was 20, and my dad was they have like a 8-year age gap, so they were younger. My mom was 20 and my dad was younger. They recently just had my baby sister, who I mentioned. She's 6 months old now. My mom is 40 and my dad is turning 49. So now they're older, and my siblings and I keep talking about how when my 6-month-old sister, her name is Jasmine, when she's like 10 or 15, my parents are going to be like in their 50s. They're going to be tired. They're not going to have the energy to yell at her the way they yell at us. They're going to have extra money because we're going to be gone and out of the house. So they're going to be taking her to Disneyland, and they're going to be doing all this. And she's going to be so spoiled because I'm going to be older. So I'm going to be spoiling her. And then my parents are going to be spoiling her. And so my sister and I, we were talking the other day, and we like had this challenge, and we were asking each other questions. And we were like, oh, if you can be one other person right now, who would you be? And on 3, we were like 1, 2, 3, and we both said Jasmine. We were like her. Like if we can choose anybody, we would be her. Like so, I'm
I love
used
being
to.
the spoiled little kid.
Yes, I'm the oldest, so I'm the one who spoils. So
Yeah,
forever
I'm
jealous.
youngest in the family, and then my parents is old, and then my siblings take care of me and spoil me too. I understand.
Yeah. The other thing is, I feel like our generation, this younger generation, like our parents, their whole, or at least like for example, my mother and my grandmother and before her, like their whole life was, get married, have kids. That was an accomplishment. Like for us now, I feel like rather than that being the accomplishment, that's like almost like a luxury after we've become successful. Like personally, I would not I would rather, but I am not focused. Like I'm 18, turning 19 in Middle Eastern culture. Like I could be considered old now. Like marriage, like old, like not old, but like marriage is like would be around this age, 19, 20, 21 in Middle Eastern culture. But I see myself, getting my nursing degree, traveling, saving, investing, buying my own, house, then maybe being
Yeah.
like before it was like, okay, I'm just turned 18, let's get engaged, I'm gonna get married, I need to have kids like within 5 years or I'm old, Now I feel like our focus is success and establishment, and family, kids, marriage is kind of like a luxury after.
And I feel like there's so, like what I was saying about social services are just being like totally pulled back. And so like, how are you supposed to
bring a new child,
a family when all of, schools are getting defunded and like gun violence is on the rise?
I know, it's crazy.
So terrible.
You mentioned overpopulation, and I'm like, that's also what I'm thinking, because like, where are we gonna fit more humans?
Yeah.
When there's already humans here that need help.
The housing crisis. Like, what are we gonna do?
I know, so many problems.
Sometimes the people the ladies do together. It means they focus on the careers, and then they have a married too.
Yeah.
So but it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Worth it, yeah, for sure.
If you find some proper man,
I know, that's the thing.
This one is more important.
Proper person.
Yeah, proper person.
All right, welcome back. The last chapter we will cover in this discussion is chapter 12. Leila, please describe which law was passed in order to protect the jobs of women who wanted to work after having children. What type of burden does this place on a woman who either have to care for their children or elderly parents while balancing responsibilities of a full-time job and deciding the division of labor within the household? How do you dual earners find a balance?
Awesome. So I'll start off with the first part. So the law that was passed in order to protect women from work after they come back from having children and after they leave for having children is the Family and Medical Leave Act. A lot of jobs before this act, it was almost kind of dangerous to be a pregnant woman before this act, because a lot of times, you'd get hired and you'd start working, and if you got pregnant, they'd fire you, or they would ask you during the interview, are you pregnant? And if you said yes, they would most likely not hire you. A lot of jobs did not want pregnant women. A lot of jobs didn't want women in general, because when women have to leave, they have to get that, paid leave. They have to leave for long periods amount of time, even if it's not paid. But after that act was passed, it kind of protected women's rights of having, parental leave and having a job, not discriminate against them just for, having a baby, starting a family. So that's the answer to the first part. The second part is the type of burden that specifically, honestly, women honestly have it really bad when it comes to work-life balance. As hopefully we can see as generations, progress, and as we're becoming more aware. People who decide to have, who are, heterosexual and decide to have a man-woman relationship. I'm going to use that for an example since it's the most common one. But for example, people who decide to have male partners, even this day and age, a lot of times male partners, they like them going to work and coming back is like they're working. That's their whole thing. Even to this day, a lot of times, not the majority, but men don't do too much around the house. They don't do too much with child rearing. They kind of do things here and there, but most of it honestly is on women. Especially women who work full time, they'll go have their full time shift, come back from work, clean the house, cook dinner, and then serve dinner or put dinner on the table, clean, then take care of the children and stuff. It's just almost never ending. It's almost like having two careers, and on top of that, when they do leave, they risk having lower salary, they risk having, less pay at their work, less hours because of they have to take care of their child or their elderly parent. It's just negative a lot on women's side because, again, as I mentioned, like, you don't find, if you do, that's great, but if you don't find like a lot of men who are raised to on their own be like, okay, my wife's at work, I'll cook dinner and I'll clean up the house a little bit before they come. They kind of find that, their ego is, I don't want to clean the house. That's not my job. But hopefully as time passes, that'll just change, help shift through. A lot of it's cultural as well. You'll find, in Middle Eastern culture, a lot of men will not do that. A lot of men do. And we're kind of trying to teach our boys, my brother, my brothers, or my cousins, our male cousins, they're different than what our fathers and grandfathers would be, so we're trying to evolve as time goes. But a lot of like Caucasian culture or African culture, Middle Eastern culture, it just differs so widely. But you go back far enough, you'll find in almost every culture, the male does not do housework, does not really involved in child rearing, is not really involved in cooking, cleaning, all that stuff. The third part is how do dual earners find a balance? The best way for someone who's a dual earner to find a balance between work and family, work and life, would be to schedule relaxed days, personal time off, and be super organized about their time. Kind of, if they have work Monday to Friday, maybe leave Saturday, Sunday, Saturday family day, Sunday relaxed day. It's a lot of organization and keeping your stuff together.
Yeah, I definitely relate to the dual earners finding a balance. I feel like our text doesn't always consider the fact that some parents work throughout the weekend. Like if you are low socioeconomic status, some of these parents are working around the clock to try to provide for their children. And I just feel like that's not always considered by our book. They don't have time for those little off days.
Right. For sure.
I can totally relate to your second part where you say like mostly women are like more of the household activities. Like I'm currently out of town because my cousin just had a baby and I'm visiting them. And like it's nice to see like her husband helping around the house and like he's on paternal leave, so like he's helping around the house and stuff. And then she's going back to work soon, and since he's working from home, he's gonna be like watching over the baby while she's at work. So it's like it's nice to see a different perspective.
Wow, like almost a complete role reversal.
Role reverse. I see a lot of stay-at-home husbands now and working wives, which is awesome to see because again, almost in any culture, as I mentioned, if you go far back enough, you'll find that traditional men work, come home, women stay home, cook, clean, child rear. So it's really refreshing to see.
Feminist and masculinity, masculinity. It is the man work, manning do. This is but that I think that before they get wants to have a baby, they have to discuss,
to communicate.
Because nowadays the ladies and they work exactly like the man. So they have to just discuss about the baby and then who's, it's honestly in our culture and back our country, it's still, just this one. But I think not not for the young couples, but for instance, my mothers and grandmothers, grandparents is like that, it's like a stereotype, you just the man have to do outside the house, and the ladies must be doing the chore in the house. So thanks, the world is changed for
It
that
is
one.
changed. Yeah, I'm definitely looking, in a future partner. I'm not looking for someone who's going to be like, oh, you can work full time if you want, but you're still going to cook, clean, and do womanly things, because I'm not going to do that. It's going to be totally different. You have to find someone who, some women are okay with that though. Some women are okay. Like I've seen some women who are more than happy to be stay-at-home wives and more than happy for their whole job to be cook, cleaning, and taking care of children. So it's really personal preference, and it's really, I guess, deciding on what your calling is. I know that's not my calling, but depends.
My grandmother was a full-time stay-at-home mom, and
it's a job.
She loved it. But then my mom, on the flip side, she had to do that second shift thing that you were talking about, where she was a full-time mother and a full-time worker, and she would come home, and I just don't know how my mom did it. She was always tired, I feel like. And my dad, he worked out in a mine in the middle of Nevada and would be home on like very specific days. And so she was like around the clock doing this with no support. Yeah. And I don't know.
My mom was like that growing up too. She was a single mother. So she's like worked from like not even a 9 to 5, like more like a 12-hour shift. So I just at home by myself. And my brother, like I just spending time with my brother at home after he comes home from school.
That's crazy.
So I don't know how she did it.
It's just amazing to see like what the degree parents will go to provide. My parents were a little more traditional. My mom didn't work. She had children. My father went out, got a degree, worked. Recently, my mother became a medical assistant, but she had a baby. So now she's taking care of baby until baby's old enough to go to preschool. And then once baby's in preschool, she plans on working as a medical assistant. So I see it developing like slowly. I really do see like the new generations becoming more fair, maybe per se. Hopefully, I do see it kind of leveling. Like my cousin, who's a couple years older than me, recently got married. She's about 21, 22. She has a degree. She's working, and her husband is also working. And because they're both working full time, there's not really that. You stay home, you work, you cook. If her husband's off sooner than her, he starts dinner. And then if she's off sooner than him, she starts dinner. If one's cooking dinner, one cleans the house. It's kind of very even in their relationship. So hopefully it all becomes that way, no matter if it's hetero, homosexual, if it's whatever combination it is. Hopefully it becomes very even.
Everyone's doing their fair part.
Right, correct.